brand new Ford Model T. The roof is down, the sun is out, life is good, but you're running out of gas. Luckily, the world's first gas station just opened up around the corner, so you pull in and fill up your car in seconds. This was a brand new concept at the time, and it planted a seed that would go on to change the world. The car market exploded, and soon more than 150,000 gas stations had been built all across the country, giving people the freedom to travel like never before. Since then, gas stations went from being dangerous fire hazards at the side of the street to ultra-efficient pit stops, pumping out 3 billion gallons of fuel around the world every day. We modeled the entire thing to show you the hidden engineering behind gas stations, the 100-year quest to master them, and the incredible mechanisms that make them work. In order to understand how gas stations work today, we need to go back to a time before they even existed. Most people didn't have cars yet, but kerosene was being widely used to power lamps and stoves. To get it, you'd go to a hardware store where an employee would pour it straight into a can and sell it to you. When cars started coming along, the kerosene would go from the store into a can, and the customer would pour it into their car using a funnel. This was slow and dangerous, and so there needed to be a safer and more efficient way to pour kerosene. That's when American inventor Sylvanus Bowser came up with the fuel pump. This was a hand-driven mechanism that squeezed kerosene from its container through a one-way valve and out of a nozzle on top. One full crank would dispense exactly 1 gallon of fuel. Soon, these pumps started being placed on city streets, allowing cars to be filled up conveniently by an attendant. But customers had no idea if they were actually getting all of the fuel they paid for. And so, a few years later, the visible fuel pump was invented. The attendant would first pump the fuel into a glass tank on top of the pump, measuring it to an exact amount. Then, by opening a valve, gravity would drain all of the fuel into the customer's car. These small curbside gas pumps worked well in the early days, when in 1900 there were only 8,000 cars in the whole US. But just 12 years later, that number increased to 1.2 million, and suddenly, cars were everywhere. Traffic jams started building up around every pump, and the small 50-gallon tanks couldn't cope with the demand. Worst of all, having all of the fuel stored above ground meant that things could go catastrophically wrong. And so, in 1913, the Gulf Oil Company opened up the first dedicated fueling station in Pittsburgh. Instead of a single pump, they placed a much larger storage tank underground and connected it to 6 pumps, allowing multiple cars to fill up at the same time. On its first day, it sold just 30 gallons of kerosene, but the word quickly spread, and by the end of the week, it was already selling 350 gallons per day for around 27 cents per gallon. Similar gas stations started opening up all over the country, and the car became the ultimate key to freedom. But by the 1920s, most cars had switched from kerosene to gasoline, since it burned more easily and was more efficient. But this caused a new problem: vapor. Kerosene had a flash point of 38 degrees, meaning that it wouldn't emit flammable vapor until it reached that temperature. But for gasoline, the flash point was negative 40 degrees, and so it was constantly emitting flammable vapor into the air. This vapor would build up inside the tanks and pollute the air whenever someone filled up their car. All it took was one small spark, and the customer would quickly become history. To learn about your own history, you can use MyHeritage, an online genealogy service that allows you to test your DNA, discover your family origins, and build your own family tree. With their Instant Discoveries feature and over 33 billion historical records, you can uncover incredible stories and piece together your own family tree. We came across James Higgins Lang, born in the late 1800s. He was a professional footballer, and like so many young men of his time, enlisted to fight in World War I. He tragically died in France during the Battle of Arras in 1917, just shy of his 20th birthday. Amazingly, both of his 2 older brothers also served. They came from a family of coal miners. Andrew, who was wounded in action, served with the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, 7th Battalion, a regiment known for its courage and sacrifice. Using MyHeritage's smart matches and record matches, even more family members showed up, just waiting to be discovered. Once you've built your tree, MyHeritage offers AI tools that can restore, enhance, colorize, and even animate historical photos, making them feel incredibly real. To uncover your own story, start with MyHeritage and use the link in the description to get 14 days for free.
I kept seeing ads about paying off credit cards.